If you think about it, this set has probably been the most confusing set regarding managing your economy. We went from fast 8 meta to fast 9 meta and then upper 14, but now, finally, after all these things, we have multiple econ strategies that work. Do you remember last time we had a set like this one? Because clearly I can't remember at all. I wanted to make this econ guide since the beginning of the set, but it was simply impossible. So in this video, I will share exactly how you can optimize your economy depending on the type of comps you want to play, like fast 8 comps or reroll comps, 1 cost, 2 cost, 3 cost, but I will also give you the best course of action you have to take depending on the strength of your board or your augments during stage 2. I also made a cheat sheet version of this video you can find on Tacter.com. This way you can easily get into the spreadsheet and see immediately how to optimize your economy. Tacter is also the sponsor of this channel and I write regularly guides you can have access for free, so don't hesitate to click on the link in the description and put a like on this guide. That helps me quite a lot. As you may know already, patch 14.1 nerfed the amount of gold we get from streaking, and this is something that has a huge consequence on how the best players of the world adapted their econ strategy. Basically, you only start to earn your first gold if you have a streak of 3 at least compared to 2 before. But I spent a little bit of time trying to make a spreadsheet to cover all the scenarios you can have during stage 2 and calculated the amount of gold you can get from winning fights and streaking. Obviously, I didn't include the potential interest gold because this is subjective to your situation and your augments or even the map of the game. So as you can see, there are in total 32 possible scenarios going from losing all 5 fights to winning all of them. Of course, I included the gold you get from streaking during the PvE fight because this changes a lot of things and this is the real value of streaking before entering PvE fights. I also separated different scenarios and you can see that in orange you can see the scenario you really don't want to have because you have a low income compared to all the other scenarios, and in green the ones you truly want to achieve most of the time. It's rather easy to play when you have an early game that tells you immediately whether you can win streak or lose streak, but the hardest part, and this happens most of the time, is when you are in the middle. You have a board that's okay to win some fights, but also you know that this board is not strong enough to have a full win streak. So let's talk about these scenarios, the one that will happen most of the time. The first key point to remember is that the fight at stage 2-3 will tell you the streak you should aim for. As you can see, there are only good scenarios if you start a streak at stage 2-3. So if you lose, try to make sure you lose all the other fights, and if you win, try to win all the other fights. The next point is, if you see you can't streak the last 3 fights, just like I said earlier, but let's say you can't because you are facing someone who's open 14 more than you, or you just win but you know that you're going to lose again after, then clearly don't hesitate to sell units on your bench to increase your gold interest. Because at this point, when you know you can't have any gold from streaking, it's much more important to at least save your gold by having more gold interest, and this is how you can keep up with other people who will win streak or lose streak but will not necessarily manage to save their gold interest as you. And finally, try to avoid any situation where you have 3 losses and 2 wins with the 5 fights in stage 2, because most of the time, if you end up with these 3 losses and 2 wins, you will have a worse situation than the 2008 financial crisis. Now that I've shown you the best and worst scenarios for stage 2, let's apply this knowledge on a fast 8 comp like Disco Twisted Fate for instance. So for a fast 8 comp, when should you push and roll and when you should save your gold? Let's talk about it. So let's say you really like to play fast 8 comps, meaning comps that you need to be at level 8 with a great amount of gold to roll to find all the 4 cost units and the 5 cost units. So I wanted to pick an easy example like Twisted Fate, and statistically you will need at least 50 gold to find a decent board with Blitzcrank 2, TF2 and all the other less expensive units, and sometimes also to find Eloy or Ziggs. So it's a comp that requires a lot of gold. So as you can understand, fast 8 doesn't mean you just need to be level 8 as fast as possible. You need to be level 8 with at least 30 gold, but the best is 50 gold so you can roll for your units. So let's start with stage 2. As I said earlier, you will aim for either win streak or loss streak. It doesn't really matter as long as you make sure you are level 5 with at least 30 gold after fighting Krugs. Ideally, you have a strong start so you can push level 4 at stage 2-1 and level 5 at stage 2-5. But if you see you cannot streak, you will try instead to stay level 4 as long as possible to reach your gold interest, like we said earlier. And if you're below this goal, this milestone of being level 5 with 30 gold after Krugs, I can already tell you that you will most likely have an extremely tough game, and maybe you should not aim for fast 8 comp but rather for reroll comp, like Seraphine reroll. Then the next milestone is to push level 6 at stage 3-2, but only if you have at least 30 gold left after pushing, or if you have a win streak to defend. If you go below 30 gold without the streak, then it will take 4 turns at least to get back to 50 gold instead of 2 turns. And in case you can't achieve this milestone, I suggest you to push level 6 at stage 3-5 instead of 3-2. This way you can get back a little bit more gold compared to your opponents and get back on track. The next milestone is to push level 7 at stage 4-1. You can push level 7 at stage 3-5 if you have 100 HP and you want to keep your win streak, of course, but this situation doesn't happen that often, so rather you can push level 7 at stage 3-5 if you have a huge win streak you want to keep, or if you are in a map that gives tons of gold like Skoric, but most of the time you will try to push level 7 at stage 4-1 because you can keep at least 30 gold and get back to 50 gold in 2 turns. And finally, here's what changed the most compared to the previous patch, is don't try to push level 8 before stage 4-5. Unless you have an Econ augment or you are in a map that gives tons of gold, you will never be able to push level 8 with at least 40 gold before stage 4-5. I see many people pushing level 8 with 20 gold left at stage 4-2 or even 4-1 sometimes, but most of the time when they do this, they simply don't hit anything because statistically it's nearly impossible to find your 2-star focus champions with only 20 or 30 gold because they already cost 12 gold just to buy them. So you need to find them and buy them. That's why you have to have more than 40 gold to have much more chance to find your 2 stars. And that's pretty much it for the fast 8 comps. Obviously, you need to adapt based on your augments, if you have Econ augments, or on your map, if you have Skoric or maps that just give you more gold. But the biggest takeaway that you need to remember all the time, and this applies also for the other strategies I'm going to describe, is that whenever you push a level, try to make sure you never go under 30 gold, except during stage 2, because obviously we don't have 30 gold during stage 2. But after stage 3, make sure to always have a decent amount of gold when you push, because otherwise you will kill your economy and you will never be able to find the units with the little amount of gold you have. And before I explain more about the strategy you want to use for 1 cost, 2 cost and 3 cost, I would like to remind you that I have a private Discord where I share weekly meta analysis and also many secret comps before they are known, just like the Seraphine Reroll comp I shared much before I released my video. You can also directly ask me questions, and if you want to have access, you simply need to become a channel member, so I put the link in the description in case you don't know what it is. Now let's talk about the 1 cost reroll comps like Yasuo reroll, for instance. The most important part is to make sure you have a great stage 2. This is where you will have the most chances to find your Yasuo, and this is also when you will have to maximize your economy as much as possible. In this case, you will never buy any XP until you find Yasuo 3. Fortunately, Yasuo Headliner is strong enough to make you have a small win streak during stage 2, so you are not forced to aim for a low streak like we used to in previous sets. In fact, Yasuo is a unit that needs to stack his AD by killing champions, so it's even better if you play to win as many fights as possible. After the Krugs, so during stage 3-1, you should still be level 4 because you didn't pay any XP before, and you will roll down to find your Yasuo 3. It's important to roll down at this stage so you can benefit from your level 4 shops and you can start a huge win streak once you find Yasuo 3. This win streak will help you get back a huge econ so you can catch up to the people who are playing fast 8, and if you maintain that streak, you can play exactly like you were playing a fast 8 comp. But of course, if you low rolled or you didn't manage to win streak properly during stage 3, keep in mind that rule that you should push, obviously, but you should never push a level if that puts you under 30 gold. Most 2 comps reroll follow the same pattern. Unless you high roll your headliner during stage 2, you will want to have a 5 loss streak and never invest any gold into XP so you can get close to 40 gold when you are fighting the Krugs. The idea is to trade your health for more gold by losing on purpose. This helps you get the priority during the carousel round so you have more chance to get the perfect items. For 2 cost reroll comps, the most important part is stage 3-2. You will push level 6 and roll to stabilize your board. For instance, if you play Seraphine Reroll, you will roll until you have 3 Superfan units and Seraphine Headliner. You will also aim to get many 2-star units so you can start winning most fights during stage 3. And then from this point you have 2 choices. Either you play a comp that is contested or a comp that doesn't require you to have focus units, like a Twitch reroll for instance. Then you will slow roll at level 6 until you find your 3 stars. If you need to have focus units in your comp, like EDM Jax or KDA Seraphine reroll, you will push level 7 at stage 4-2 and slow roll at this level to find your 3 stars and your focus units. Once you find your 3 stars, you will push your levels by making sure you always have at least 30 gold left so you can roll to find late game units to complete your board. If you like to play 3 cost cost reroll comps like Vex, Uni, or even for instance, you will mainly use two different strategies. If you have an extremely weak start, or if you have a non-mon like What Doesn't Kill You or Vampirism, then you will lose all your fights from 2-1 to 3-3 included. You will also try to always reach 50 gold as fast as possible, even if it means you put nearly nothing on your board. At stage 3-5, you will push level 7 and roll to stabilize your board. This usually means you need to find your highliner and many relevant units at 2 stars. Try not to get too deep in your pockets because you will need to rebuild your Econ and potentially make another roll down at stage 4-1 or 4-2 if you start to lose fights again and get very low in health. Make sure you don't expect to find everything in one roll down because this is statistically almost impossible, and this is why it's also important to maintain your Econ at a decent level, at least 30 gold for instance, so you can always make another roll down in a couple of rounds. The other strategy you can have when you play a 3-cost reroll is to play strongboard as if you wanted to play a fast 8 comp. So you will mainly follow the strategy I mentioned earlier in this video. However, you will push level 7 at stage 4-1 and roll down to find your new headliner and stabilize your board. Usually you should find a good board without going under 20 gold so you can rebuild your Econ and slow roll every turn once you're above 50 gold. This strategy is less risky, but be careful because some people can contest you and steal your units if they use the former strategy I just described, so make sure to scout a lot and adapt your strategy if you see you're contested. Once again, once you find your 3 stars, you can rebuild your Econ, push level 8, push level 9, to complete your board with 4 cost and 5 cost units and try to aim for first. Everything I said is relevant for 95% of your games, and rules can be broken, especially if you get Econ maps like Skoric or if you pick economics to accelerate this even more. If this video doesn't help you get a better economy score on Tacter.tools, then I don't know what else to say. However, if after this you feel you are still stuck at your elo and it feels impossible to reach master, then I have the perfect video for you because in this video I'm sharing here, I help you identify your weaknesses in TFT and how to improve in these areas. Until next video, see you at the top of the ladder.